Hello, this is Dominic. Welcome. We'll give it a little bit of time for people to come in. Why don't we start out and let's just see who is here? Why don't you say where you're from and also your zodiac sign, if you would? I'll start you guys off. I am an Aries. And we'll just do that, see who's here, and while we wait for people to come in a bit. All right. Well, while I wait for people to come on, I'll introduce myself a bit. So I am Dominic, and I am a dating coach. Hey, we got someone from London, and she's a Cancer. So yeah, I'm a dating coach, and I help people get fantastic relationships while they're dating. And we're gonna have a 30-minute segment tonight, just on dating power tips. So I thought I'd start out and hey, Sachina, someone else coming in. I thought I'd start out with probably number one tip, and we'll probably come back to this as people come in. Um, but the number one dating tip I have is wait for it. It's work on yourself. And what does that mean? Like work on yourself. It's just like know who you are and also know that like all of us our dating issues, our dating problems come from what we saw while we were growing up. And so we all model the relationships that we learned growing up. So it's typically going to be relationship we saw between mom and dad or aspects of relationship we didn't see between mom and dad. And so when we're younger, we're seeing how people like show affection to one another and how they love one another. But what we also are picking up on things that are like not the best thing to do, and it also causes us problems. Hey, Chris. So when I say work on yourself, I mean just realize what's there. So if there were like difficulties that you experienced growing up or you saw difficult relationships in front of you, recognize that you probably picked up some of those things yourself and that you might be using them in your dating experience. So, hey, looks like we got a question. What's the best way to navigate online dating? And also, is it necessary? Um, you know, online dating is a tool. So I say like it's there. Like why not use it? Especially if you haven't and see what results that you get there. One of the advantages of online dating is that you get to put in like everything that you're about, and then you also get to search for people who are there. So you get quantity in online dating. Um, the thing that doesn't go hand in hand with quantity always is quality. So you may come across a lot of people that are not compatible with you, or you may be able to go out on a lot of dates, but you're not able to like actually go out with a lot of people that you're looking for. So think of like any market that's out there. The good ones go fast, and like the good ones or the top ones are always in high demand. So getting back to how to navigate online dating, profile is key. You want to have like a really good profile, so like a really good headshot. Something that's really clear, something that shows you as your good angle, good lighting, all those type of things. Preferably with a smile, so people like people's faces. So be sure to show yours and show like a good one. And in your profile, the best thing is to be yourself. Now, you might think, well, if I'm by myself, then like people won't like me or something like that. But you know, over like the long term, you can't keep up an act if you're not yourself. So it might be successful in the short term, but you really want to use your online dating profile not only just to attract people, but also to filter people out. So your online dating profile is a great way to get people not to match with you that you're not looking for, or to take like a pass on you that you're not looking for. So, if you like dogs, like if you love dogs, and you probably want to be with someone who like cares for dogs as well. So you might want to put that in there. Like, must love dogs. So that's also a good thing to do in your profile. So bring people to you, but also filter people out that you're not going to be interested in. So don't be afraid to be yourself. I'd say the other thing is when you're looking and doing online dating, be familiar with what I call like red flags and green flags. And you might pause there and say, well, what are those? Or I don't have any. So I would say, one quick way to do that is to Google uh, dating green flags or doodle Google dating red flags and just kind of see what other people are saying about those. So, red flags are things that will probably give you pause with someone. And with a red flag could be something like you know I only like people who like to only go to clubs or something. Well, if that's not up your alley, then you might like take a pass. Or let's say they mentioned something about ghosting. If you're not worth my time, then like I'll ghost you quickly or something. So any like red flag is essentially something that doesn't meet your criteria. Now, there's some universal red flags, meaning that like everybody has them, and then there are also some red flags are just for people. Let's say I went back and looked at the questions. Chris Oliver said, "What are some toxic red flags to look for in a relationship?" So, a toxic red flag is someone that is always blaming someone else for what happened to them. And so you'll find that this person, whatever happens, particularly if anything that's bad, it's not their responsibility. It was always the responsibility of someone else. So they're never at fault. They're never to blame. Everyone else is always an idiot, or everyone else is always a problem, because eventually that means like one day you'll be the idiot or you'll be the problem in the relationship, and you'll probably be quickly dismissed when that person comes to that perspective. So another uh, dating red flag is someone that is, say, always controlling or always domineering or always has to be right. So how does like being right show up? The person can be very argumentative. The person is always like trying to prove a point. The person gets angry when it looks like they're quote unquote wrong. So, those circumstances are that is it's another like toxic red flag, because here's a secret just dating or in life. There is no right and there is no wrong. I mean, there's facts, there's tons of facts out there and we can look facts up. But typically what people are arguing about is just how they're seeing something. So if a person you're dating is always trying to convince you that they're right, really they're just trying to convince you that how they see the world is how everyone should see the world. And that's not the case. There's only one real reality in the world, and that's yours. And only you get to experience that. So that's great, that's wonderful, but you have to understand it's that's just like the way you see the world, not the way that everyone else sees it. So if you come across someone who is always in that lane of like I'm trying to be right, then that'd be like another toxic red flag. So love the questions, keep them coming. What would be some green flags? Because I don't think we hear enough about that. So, a green flag is someone who they can communicate, and so like you can tell them that you know they're you can essentially get upset at them, and instead of them like just playing the blame game with you, is that they would say, okay, they get more curious than triggered, and they get curious and they said, well, tell me more about that, or I didn't know that's how you saw it. Like, can you expand more, or can you tell me more about that? Their curiosity is essentially their attempt to repair the connection after, say, there's been a rupture. Here's another like dating green flag. If someone speaks really well of their mom or dad, um, just has good things to say about them. Or maybe just more neutral way of saying that, a person that doesn't hate their mom or dad. So, given what circumstances are when people are growing up, there's going to be a number of things that might make them upset. It might make them feel at some point in their life that, mom was an idiot or dad was an idiot. And, that's okay for a period of time. But once you start, say, getting to the ages of, it's usually the early 20s. So I'd say about like, 21, 22. That doesn't work anymore. You can't say I hate mom or dad. At that point, you have to find peace with what's occurred before. So it doesn't mean that you have to say that mom and dad were right, or it doesn't mean that you have to like say forget everything that happened. It's just that you have to find a way to no longer be super, super triggered at that, because when you're doing that, you're essentially giving away like your power, giving away your strength. So whenever someone is saying, well, my life is messed up because of my mom, or my life is messed up because of my dad, what that means is they haven't accepted responsibility for how their life is going to go. And so that means one day they'll be blaming you. They'll say, like, you're the reason why I'm unhappy, or like you're the reason why things aren't working out, or like you're the reason why this relationship sucks. And it may be hard to see that connection, but if people can get to a point where they're at least at peace with what happened during their childhood, then that makes like a really good relationship green flag, because it also means that they've had some mishaps, had some setbacks, and they've worked with them, they processed them, maybe they got some help on those, or maybe they did some work on their own. And so essentially they're lighter. They show up in a relationship lighter. They show up with less what you call like relationship baggage, because they already got rid of it. And so like the less baggage a person has in relationship, before they show up, the better your relationship is going to be. So I'm gonna look at some of the questions again. Let's see. I think Sanchina. I'm trying to keep relationship going, even though I know it's a lot of red flags. Is it wrong to stay hopeful about it? Well, this is the best answer, right? It's like it depends. Um, I would say I probably would need to know more. So if you want to give some more detail, that's good. But I'll add a little bit with what I would want to say. So when people show up, one of the main things you want to do is like you don't want to change people ever. You never want to try to change anyone in a relationship. You just want to be able to see them accurately for how they're showing up. So if they're say not showing up on time, if they're very forgetful, if you ask them to change the way like they behave and there's like no change in things, um then you're starting to see what is a pattern that will probably be there for like a long time. And so what you want to do is you want to see those um those things actually as they are. And it gets back to something else I said earlier. Like there's only one reality in the world, and it's yours. And so everyone sees things from their perspective, going back to how they were raised, their mom, their dad, their siblings, their country, their culture, their community. And so they bring all that to the world in terms of how they see things. It's kind of like when people see a comedian, like, there can be one person there that thinks, oh, this is hilarious. And then another person that gets highly offended and say, like, I hate this comedian. The joke was the same. How people saw it was based on how they see things just in their own defined reality. So, getting back to, the red flags and like, changing people, if you observe people and without judgment and just notice what's there, you create the best chance of just getting an accurate picture of the person. And so that's what you want to do with those red flags. You want to say, is it wrong to stay hopeful about it? It's not wrong to stay hopeful about it, but you want to be optimistic and see things as they are. So if those red flags are there and you bring them up and they don't change, then it starts to look at other things. Well, what are your standards and what are your boundaries? And that's another big topic. This is something I found, like, when it comes to dating, most people are terrible at this. Terrible at this. They're terrible at having boundaries, and they're terrible at having standards. And you think about it, standards are all over the world. You can see them like every place. Starbucks has standards. McDonald's has standards. Any place you work, they have standards. Sometimes they're called policies or like procedures or something like that. So every place has standards, and the standard just means it ensures a certain result. So if you're going out there and, like, you don't have standards in your dating relationship, then you can't complain about the results that you're getting. So one, you have to have standards, and then you also have to communicate those. And so, a standard that you get to have is, um, don't don't yell at me. We can have a conversation, we can talk, but don't yell at me or don't raise your voice at me. Like, that makes me feel scared, or that makes me feel unhappy, or that, like, shuts me down. And so you want to communicate your standards. And boundaries, it's a bit different, but a boundary is like a fence. And so, like, you want to communicate your boundaries with the person as well. So maybe it might be, hey, for the first month, my boundary is that, there's no sexual contact. It doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means that's my boundary. And that's it. It's plainly communicated. And what a lot of people have problems with is, like, one, knowing that they should have standards or boundaries, or they have them and they don't communicate them. And so they think if they state this, this will create conflict. And I want to make a big distinction between conflict and communication. And communication is just, you have a thought and you state what you're thinking. That's it. Conflict is where, people are at odds with each other. So, most communication is not conflict. And so it's just communication. And so you don't want to mistake just stating what your standards and boundaries. You don't want to think that's going to create conflict, or create a lack of love. It's really just stating what you want. And if a person just gets upset at hearing your standards or your boundaries, or thinks you're unreasonable, red flag. Because the real good response to that is, it should be like, oh wow, thanks a lot, I really appreciate it. Now I know. All right. So let's see. I'm going to go back to the questions, and Sanchina, if you want to give some more details, like, go ahead with that. We can go deeper on that. Let's see. Jack Darwin, how can I be less controlling and not come off as clingy? Oh, I love this question. I love this question. So this goes really, really deep. And, largely when it comes to relationships, or when it comes to life in general, like, you are the creator of your own reality. And so, I said before, don't try to change people. So here's the most impossible thing to do in the world, is to change someone. And I'll give you a tip. You can't change people. You can only change yourself. So how do you change the world? How do you change your world? You change. You change. The other person doesn't change. You change. Now, if you change, you create the possibility for the other person to shift, because you introduce different energy. It's kind of like, if you want to, let's say, ask for a raise, you don't walk in angry. You put a smile on your face, you're friendly, you crack a few jokes, and then you maybe talk about, like, the raise. And so, um, you change based on the results that you want, or you change long term based on the results that you want in your life. So how can I be less controlling and not come off as clingy? Jack, this really just comes down to, this is like, shows up as insecurity. What you're really asking is, how can I feel more secure? So, and this is not a judgment. This is just objective thing. And so the more secure you'll feel, the less controlling and the less clingy you'll feel, or want to be. So why is that? Um, People only want to control other people when they don't feel safe. are when, they feel that, they'll lose something or something will go away. And you don't need to control a situation or definitely a person when you have a lot of confidence in yourself. I mean, if you have a lot of confidence in yourself, you can let other people do what they want to do. And this goes back to what I said. You always want to let people do what they want to do. You want to let them show up the way they want to show up because they're communicating to you all the time how they value you and how they respect you in relationships. So, like, don't try to control them. Just make your boundaries and standards known, your wishes, and see how they respond. And if they start doing things that you don't like, bravo. Bravo. They've communicated to you that, oh, you're not meeting my boundaries and standards. And so um that goes along with the same thing as, like, being less clingy. And here's the thing, you already know it, like, clingy or neediness, it's a repelling energy. And so when people are super like clingy and stuff, it people actually retract from that. And it's not a thing. So the thing is, one is just a way of being. It's like when you're clingy, you're essentially, broadcasting to the world, I don't I don't feel good about myself. I can't feel good unless I have you. So another way, Jack, is just figure out how to feel good about yourself. Do things that light you up. A lot of times when people are controlling and they're clingy, they're super, super focused on what the other person is doing. You know, they want the other person to do X, Y, and Z in order so they can feel a certain way. And so, like, Jack, you want to feel good about yourself and you want to feel secure. So just do that. Focus on things that will make you feel good about yourself and feel secure. And that could be, you know, working out, that could be hitting certain goals, that could be like, doing certain things in your business or your job. And you do those things, that security will go up and that feeling good will show up. And then you won't have to worry about being controlling or clingy because you'll already have what you want in life, which is to feel good about yourself and to feel secure in it. So let's see. Love these questions. I say keep them coming. I think I've answered the ones in there already. So there's some other ones in there. So let's see. Hey, thanks, Jack. You can ask more. Chris Oliver said thank you. That's good. Here's a big one. Here's a big dating tip. Write this down. Study narcissism and codependency. So I'll say that again. Study narcissism and codependency. And so that's a hot topic out there. I'm not exactly sure why, but um, one of the things that you will find once you start studying this is that well over 90% of the people in the world, they have some degree, some percentage of narcissism are codependent behavior. So, does that mean they're a narcissist? No. Does that mean they're like a codependent person? No. But it's traits, it's characteristics. And so, if you think of sports, does one team study the other team before they play them? Yes. Why do they study them? They study them so they know the moves that they're going to make and how they're going to play. And so they know how to respond to those moves and how they play. And so um if 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 you don't know anything about narcissism or codependency, you're going to find yourself in a situation eventually where you're going to be with someone who's narcissistic or codependent, and you're going to have to deal with all this stuff you don't want to deal with. And so you want to be able to spot it before it even comes and then say, I don't want to play that game. I'm out. That's really the thing. So I can't stress enough. You want to study it so you can know what it is. Because a lot of people don't know what that is. And another reason you want to study it is because you, my friend, yes, you, you have aspects of narcissism and codependency in you. That's okay. That's okay. That's fine. I mean, and that's there because it shows up just in a lot of child rearing and how people grow up, and so you experience it, and so you learn it, and then you mirror it, and then you like use that in the world as a tool, and you don't realize how unhealthy it is. So I'm not even going to get into, is it toxic, is it bad, is it overused? I'm just saying study it. The better you know how other people are going to like behave in a relationship in ways that are unacceptable to you, you can save years. I work with clients that have been in relationships for 10 years, and then at the end of it they're like, oh my goodness, the person was a narcissist. Like I couldn't believe it, like, but they found out afterwards. So just find out about that ahead of time, and also cleanse yourself of these energies, because like you want to be showing up as that way as well. So the more you learn about what that stuff is, the more you can identify it in yourself too, and also stop doing it. And so you'll just have better results. So let's see. Oh, last 5 minutes. Man, this guy's gone quick. So let's see. Someone said Dash was also speaking about narcissism too. Like I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. Like you need it. See, Sanchina came back again. What's your point of view about the concept of love? After dating multiple people, doesn't it start to feel meaningless? Oh, no, not at all. Love is full of meaning. Um, but the concept of love, like for most people, it's just wrong. And so I would say like 98% of people on this planet don't really understand what love is. And so there's this phrase out there, unconditional love. That unconditional before the word love, it should be unnecessary, right? It's like why do we need to say unconditional love? Do we want conditional love? Do we want gray love? Do we want like okay love? No, we just want love. We just want love. And so um and so let's break that down further. What is love? It's it's 100% nonstop acceptance, appreciation, adoration, and compassion. That's what love is. And so love is like a nutrient, like we all need it. And the most important thing is you don't want to go looking for people to love you. What do you mean? Of course you want people to love you. No, you don't. You don't want to go looking for people to love you. You want to figure out what is it in you that's preventing you from loving yourself, and you want to remove all those obstacles, and then you want to be able to love yourself at the highest level possible. Why? Because like attracts like. And so if you're loving yourself at the highest level possible, you're going to attract people who will love you at the highest level possible. And I'll tell you this, let's say in the scale 1 to 10, if you're loving yourself at a level 3, you're not going to attract a level 10. You're not going to attract a 10, 9, 8, 7. No, you're going to attract a 3. So like attracts like. And so like, the more you love yourself, the more you will find people that will love you, or love you at the same level. Let's see. Time for just one more question, if we want to get there. Let's see. We'll wait for it to come in. I just want to say, after dating multiple people, does it start to feel meaningless? Like, absolutely not, because um, what you should be experiencing, from dating person to person is like you should be using relationships as a way for you to let go of all the things that prevent you from loving yourself and prevent you from loving others. And so that by as you date multiple people, if you're using it as that educational container, you're actually becoming a much better person in terms of like loving yourself and loving other people. Um, oh man, there's one last question. Um, well, let's see if we can do it real quick in 30 seconds. How to not get attached. Attachment isn't love, right? Well, not quite sure I understand that. I mean, there is something called attachment styles. We don't really have time to get into that, but I would say look into it. Attachment styles, and attached. I don't think it's necessarily about how to get attached or how not to get attached. It's just looking at, what is it? What are you attracted to, and why? I think that's the most important way. What am I attracted to and why? Because the why of what you're attracted to will tell you a lot about yourself. Um, yeah, I wish I could go in that deeper, but we're at time. Hey, everyone, I really want to thank you for all of you that showed up. I hope you got some value out of this. You can definitely send feedback, and you can definitely reach out to me in the future. And I'm going to end it right there. So, have a good night or good morning wherever you are, and I hope to see you again soon.